Hi there, KOIN 6 Meteorologist Josh Cozart here with your latest weather forecast. Wanted to give you some updates as we are quickly approaching the very end of the winter season and starting fresh with spring this upcoming Thursday. But before we get there, we do have a lot to kind of unpack before we work our way through the next several days, because another late winter storm is approaching much of our area, and that's exactly what we'll be kind of dissecting over the next short while. But again, thank you for joining us here on this special KOIN Now edition. We are streaming not only on YouTube, but also on Facebook. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure to comment below. That's where I will try to comb through it throughout this live broadcast and be able to get any answers that you might have or questions you might have answered here this evening. But overall, we are preparing for another round of heavy rain, wind, and also some mountain snowfall, once again taking aim at much of the Pacific Northwest. So that just goes to show you that March has its ups and downs, and that's exactly what we'll be seeing here over the next several days. But hey, a lot of the blooms, the blossoms really getting underway, making it feel just a little bit more like the spring season here, even if our temperatures aren't necessarily reflecting much of that as well. The daffodils, the forsythias, and even some of the Bradford pear trees really starting to put on their display. But boy, what about those beloved Portland cherry blossoms? Well, we will dive right into that as well. But with many of the spring blooms and blossoms getting underway now, that means our pollen counts are also going to be on the rise, peaking back up to the moderate to the high level as we work our way into Wednesday, Thursday. Now, by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, we'll start to see that taper back ever so slightly, and that just so happens to come with our next chance of wet weather, which actually starts as early as Wednesday evening, carries over into Thursday. So we might kind of see these pollen counts adjust with that over the next little while. But overall, another beautiful live look just below me out of downtown Portland on this Tuesday evening. So the Portland cherry blossoms, well, this was a look at them from earlier today. Thanks to our good friend here at KOIN 6, Brady Dean, for sending us this photo. Yeah, you can see a little bit of color there, a little bit of a pop. That's where we are anticipating a bit of a slower peak than what we originally had thought, say about 3-4 weeks ago or so. And that's all because of this cooling trend that we've seen as of late. So when do we think we'll start to see some of the peak? I really think by about this weekend, as we start to warm things up, we dry out our skies again. That's where a lot of the Tom McCall waterfront Portland cherry blossom trees, I think, will really start to near their peak. Now, fast forward to April 1st, which is only about a week and a half, 2 weeks or so away. We're already into the 18th of this month. Boy, it's flying by quickly. That's where we will trade out those pink and white blossoms for a nice shade of fresh green with those brand new leaves that will start to take shape shortly after the peak, which again, I think is going to happen starting Saturday. It's going to take us over the next week or so. But keep in mind, this is really going to be a bit of a welcome sight for those who are suffering from spring fever. I know that I am falling in that category for sure. Now, as far as our early morning temperatures have gone, they've been on the chillier side. So that's pumped the brakes on that peak, pushing it a little bit later into the month of March and maybe even the start of April before we really start to see a lot of those petals come to the ground. So I like to think of it as you cut fresh flowers. A lot of the florists put them into the fridge. That helps to keep them preserved and cool. That's what Mother Nature is providing with some of our early morning lows as well. That's why we are falling back to 42, and we're seeing that peak of a lot of the blooms and blossoms push back a couple of days, if not even by a week or so. But 33 degrees in Hillsboro shows signs that, hey, winter is technically still here. Us meteorologists, we like to celebrate on March 1st, but nonetheless, it is still astronomical winter, at least for one more day. But when do we typically see the end of our freezing temperatures here in Portland? Well, that typically happens right around March 25th, at least as far as our average goes. Now, the latest freezing temperature of 32 degrees that we've seen here in the Rose City out at the airport was on May 2nd of 1964. So it's been a while since we've seen it that late into the season. But still, a good note that, hey, even as we work our way into spring, those ups and downs, that is what is typical for us here in the Pacific Northwest as we go through this seasonal change. So keep that in mind. Am I foreseeing any freezing temperatures moving forward? Not at least within the next several days. Our average early morning low should be right around 40 degrees or so. look at these early morning lows. 46 for Friday, 45 for Saturday, bouncing up to almost 50 on Sunday. I think we will hit 50 by sunrise come Monday morning. So a warming trend is on the horizon. That also will be matched with a bit of a drying trend as well with the return of some sunshine. So we say goodbye to the winter season as we work our way towards this Thursday. The official start time is at 2:01 in the morning, so set an alarm if you want to have a big celebration of the brand new warmer and drier season. But that leaves us with 94 days until the start of summer. And again, all of this is going on Thursday, March 20th. So what is the spring start mean? Well, it means that the equator is going to be directly in line with the sun's rays. So equal amount of daylight, equal amount of darkness. That's where we will then, the northern hemisphere, when I say we, will start to tilt a little bit more directly towards the sun. And that, of course, is the summer season and those longer days for sure. So something that we can look forward to. Again, it starts on Thursday, where the equator is directly in line with those sun's rays, is going to be at 2:01 Thursday morning. So when you wake up, it will be spring on Thursday. Now, that increase or the tilt in the daylight and the tilt of the northern hemisphere really allows for much of the Portland area to see the most amount of sunlight. Now, this is not taking into effect the time change entering daylight saving time that we experienced. But overall, just with the amount of daylight, Portland sees about 96 minutes of additional daylight in the month of March, marking this month the month with the greatest amount of daylight gained. So we can look forward to that. You can see below me out over downtown Portland, it's 7:45. We still got light glow on the horizon. So always a welcome sight for us who like those later sunsets. Not ideal for those early risers who are now waking up in the dark, but that too, the sunrises, they'll start to get a little bit earlier. Just pack your patience, wait a few weeks. Now, as far as our satellite radar goes, still picking up on just a stray raindrop or two. A lot of these moving their way from the southwest to the north and east. It looks like maybe the downtown Portland area, although it is dry right now, could run across maybe a nice late rain shower or two, but these are very scattered, if not even isolated in nature, and that goes just the same for the high terrain of the Cascades, where we're picking up on just a few snow flurries. Rain accumulation since midnight, well, that was just a couple of 1/100ths of an inch. Additional rain, I really don't see that coming to fruition for the rest of the night tonight. Live outside, though, out across the high terrain of the Cascades. Beautiful view this evening out towards Mount Hood and also out towards the government camp area. That is where we are seeing some really nice driving conditions as far as the roadway goes. Won't necessarily be the case as we move our way through the next several evenings because it will become quite snowy in the near future, as early as Wednesday evening. That's where we do anticipate some of the snow to start to fall once again over the Cascades. So it comes as no surprise that the National Weather Service out of Portland issuing much of the Cascades under a winter weather advisory. Up to 17 inches of additional snow, a possibility if you're above about 5,500 feet. Wind gusts also likely going to make it difficult driving conditions because they'll be gusting close to 35 miles per hour. Tricky travel is likely, especially for any of those skiers or snowboarders who might be trying to head up an elevation over the next several days. Just keep that in mind that winter still has a tight grip on the high terrain of the Cascades. As far as our snow accumulation goes, that's where we have seen plentiful snow for places like Timberline Lodge, Meadows, seeing about a foot of snow building back up that base layer, and that is a really healthy sight. That now gives us a bit of a surplus for the middle, if not the end of March, as typically April is our peak of most snowfall on the ground over the Mount Hood area. Now, we do anticipate more additional snow to really start to work its way back into our area. It looks like my data's not coming through, but overall, it's going to be close to about a foot or so that we anticipate to see. As far as the snow elevation levels go, hovering right around 4,000 feet or so. Not impactful for the valleys, and it will be beneficial for many of those ski resorts. Our futurecast does show that the clouds, they will stay widespread for tonight. But we also are on the drier side of things, so we can look forward to that if you have had your fair share of the wet weather, as so many of us have. And we really are going to see those winds become a little bit on the gustier side for tomorrow morning along the coast. The rain, it doesn't start to fall along the coast until about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We stay dry through the Willamette Valley tomorrow afternoon, but it's for your evening commute, 5, 6, 7. That's where we expect to see widespread rain. Heavy mountain snow gets underway. And then those winds, they'll slowly pick up through the overnight hours on Wednesday into Thursday. Thursday gives us a few hit and miss showers, a few dry moments, a few wet moments, but later in the evening, likely going to be seeing more widespread rain. Fast forward, so this is going to include Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, much of the day Saturday. We could potentially tip the scale of over an inch, inch and a quarter of additional rain for the Portland, Vancouver metro area. But for tonight here in the Rose City, we stay mostly cloudy. Temperatures falling back to the low 40s, 55. That's the end goal for tomorrow. And our 7-day forecast does show a light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, spring is on its way. So we anticipate to feel a little bit more like the spring season as we push our way into this weekend. So mid-50s return. Our average for this time of year right around 57 degrees. Again, first day of spring, that's Thursday. And then we will start to see the sunshine return Monday, Tuesday. Temperatures back into the upper 60s, low 70s for us. Yeah, low 70s. That is not a typo as we work our way back into the start of next week. So something for us all to look forward to. Really a welcome sight, especially as so many of our trees and buds are really starting to put on quite the show across our area. Just give you another view of that. It's your moment of zen, I guess you could say, for your Tuesday evening. But thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of KOIN Now. We hope you have a great rest of your evening. You can also download the brand new KOIN Plus streaming app. You just got to go to your Roku, to your Amazon Fire TV stick, or Apple TV. Go to the store or wherever you search for apps. You just type in KOIN. It'll be the KOIN Plus one. Add that. That's where you can watch live newscasts. And you can also find the stories that are important to you live, on demand, at a moment's notice. You watch on your time. We hope that you are able to download that and continue to watch us along with Beavers Baseball. That is also streaming exclusively there and on Portland CW. But our latest newscast tonight, you can find us on KOIN 6 News at 11. Or if you want to check out the Portland CW channel at 10 o'clock, that's where the 10 will be with Anthony Costura and myself giving you the latest weather forecast. Have a great night.